Okay, I think we are live. Sorry for the wait. So I'll be doing Douga checks on this stream. And I have the Douga that Jared completed yesterday. Hello. Yeah, sorry for the wait. Let's see, music. Hello. Okay, so let's get the screen visible now. Let me know if the volume sounds weird. So what I've done to check the Douga this time is I've just cut out Emily and exported that as a movie file. So I'll play that back for a bit so you guys can see. I guess the main thing that I'm noticing right now is this cheek line here, appearing and disappearing, and also moving upwards. This is about the size that is going to be on screen when the actual video shows, so yeah, you could use it as a lo-fi mix video. So there's some jitter around the hair areas, and I'm not sure about how much to fix, but overall it's fairly usable. I'd probably work on this highlight as well, because it's jumping back and forth. And then maybe some of these hair areas that are getting thick and thin a lot. The fingers look pretty solid. And I guess maybe depending on the color between this hair and the pillow, this tip should maybe be fixed a little bit. Because if it's a high contrast color, it'll kind of stand out, jumping around. There's a circle on the pillow that comes in and out right near the hand. Let's see. Right here. Oh yeah, it's disappearing. Good find, Zoom Buster. One of the red dots on the pillow seems to flicker a bit. Let's see which one. I think that might be the same one. There is a little bit of like in-betweening error around here, where as this top line moves downward, it like stays in the same position and then jumps. Oh yeah, the one you saw at the hand. That too. That's the one that's actually disappearing. And then this hair here is kind of like extending and retracting. So I'm going to double check the key trace to see if that's an error in the key and if that should be fixed or not. Because that one part looks like it's just sort of expanding. So that needs to be looked over, I think. Other than that, it's pretty solid, I think. So let's start checking. I'll uncrop the project here really quick. Yeah, going through it, like with at work, the Doken would point out things that I couldn't see, like even like standing right next to them or checking it myself. So you would go back and place one frame over the other, Then put your nose like right up to the paper and flip back and forth as hard as you can. Like, can I see what she sees? Okay, so I don't have my tools set up for Douga check. Let's see. Yeah, well, actually, I figured out a way to do a sort of pencil texture filter, so I'm going to be applying that to this opening as well to make it look kind of as professional as possible. I went for the there's a filter that like A1 Pictures uses sometimes, in like Grancrest Senki and yeah, I'm trying to think of the other show, but it doesn't come to me right now. So, okay. Vector tools. And also I need to enable the Genga Sakka. Which I guess the order is different now. Hmm. There we go. So it looks like this hair tip had a line across here, but the fill and the way it was drawn makes it look like it connects right down to the hand. So this would have been moving only to here, but instead it's moving all the way down to here. So let's fix that on the key. Just hold on a second, I need to get some stuff off the asset store. Sorry about that. If you guys have any questions, I can answer them right now while I'm adding some tools. Path to Douga Kensa, usually you do Douga as much as possible. And after maybe, lately it's about a year or 2 years. If you're drawing more than 300 frames per month, they'll offer you to, I guess, graduate to Douga Kensa. And sometimes they'll start you out on shorter things with like a lower frame count, but slowly they'll step you up to entire episodes. How do you develop Doken level of attention to detail while we're not working in the industry? It's really difficult, but I guess flip checking and exporting your animation and looking at it with very discerning eye. Because if you look over the animation yourself, there's a lot of things that you'll notice. A lot of the things you guys noticed just now were things that I'm about to fix. But also, on top of that, maybe you can show it to other people and they'll notice as well. Have you thought about inviting guest animators? Yes, that would be cool, but just never really thought it might be an option, like that people would allow us to, or like would want to be on. Because a lot of this is just sort of working for a non-anime project, really. It's just an indie project to help out, so. But I guess with donations, we have the option of paying them, so. And we do have some people on for Douga, I guess, too. Okay, so I have a Douga template. Actually, before I use that, I should probably try out this. Subtools, I need the Pen. Oh, inviting someone to stream so you got someone to talk to. Yeah, that might be good. Let's see. Is vector pen a separate thing? I should have worked this out earlier. Let's see. Maybe it's just because this isn't on. Oh yeah, I think that works now. Okay, good. I'll just change my shortcut to the Niji pen. Right in here. And then shortcut for the eraser. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, on to checking. So this frame 8 that has the hair that's extended, so. Did I see Optical Source tweet about his room and workspace? I haven't actually. I will check that out. Oh, great, saving. Thanks. Yeah, I should probably be using like multiple workspaces or rooms for each process, like part of the process. Okay, I'm not sure why this is locked up. I have hard drive space. Okay, finally. So that's the part in question. Okay, so let's look at his spacing chart so I can figure out which frame number is the exact middle, wherever he drew that. So 5 is in the middle. Take these off the timeline for now. And we'll work with 5, 1, and 8. So 1 and 8. Go into the light board, or light table. Disable second key check. So that was the only real trace error that I think I saw, which is good. So you can see bottom of the line here. Okay, let's check that cheek area that we were talking about earlier. So no issue in this first drawing. But what I think we will do is, this second drawing here, the cheek line is kind of crushed in with this hairline. So what I'm going to do is fix the trace a little bit. It's not an incorrect trace at all, but just so that you have consistent forms on each, and this doesn't pop in and out of existence. I'm gonna erase this a little bit, see if I can get a little hole in there that I can in between the cheek line with. And I think that's sufficient. What's my favorite anime? I guess recently Konosuba. Are there any big corrections to Douga? Fortunately not this time. But when I was doing Douga in-house, there were lots of cases where you would finish the cut that you did for the day at like 4 or 5 p.m. and then you're desperately fixing all of the errors that the Dolken finds until like the last train at 11:45 p.m. So if I use the curve tool, it's like this right now, so I have to kind of set it up to be a different one that supports unaliased or aliased lines. Okay. Let's see, what else were we pointing out? This highlight here. No real issue with this first in between. That's good. The thickness in this area, I guess we can adjust that a little bit. That's a little bit closer. Yeah, normally with Douga checking, unless you're pressed for time, the corrector does not do it themselves. Unfortunately, nowadays, they're almost always pressed for time. And for example, Douga will be like not in-house. So if it's an outsourced Douga company, they usually have their own Douga checker in-house, like within that outsourced company. But then anything that Douga checker doesn't catch, the studio Douga checker has to check and fix themselves within the studio that was outsourcing in the first place. I guess that's okay. I was debating on whether to adjust this to be, right now it's the exact same fill area as this key, whereas the other key, it expands a lot, but I think it's okay. It's within. This is a little short though, should fix that. Okay, so back to the spacing chart, and you can see why this is so useful. The next one I'm going to fix is, let's go with 6. So we'll have 5, 6, and 8 that I'm working with. And on the light table, what's kind of useful here is there's left and right flipping buttons where you can flip through the frames on the timeline, while you're doing your animation. But if you highlight one of the frames on the light board or the light table, if you press those same flipping buttons, you can flip through which frames are registered, which is very convenient for just swapping frames out without going through the through the layer palette up here. Okay, so now we have, just gonna double check, 5, 8, and I'm on 6. Okay, good. So we'll do some more flipping. And without even, because I changed the key on this, this is obviously has to be fixed. This is actually dipping down a little bit too, so. these kind of sort of far away shots are really difficult in animation because the cells are pixelated. Oh, you were asking how do you continue the animation with these pixel lines? You apply a filter to it later on that smooths them out. It's called anti-aliasing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, worst case scenario for these long shots where a lot of this is really just like pixel art, really. So worst case scenario, like, because if it's paper Douga, you can't really draw this detailed. The paint artist actually has to go through and do all this like manual redrawing of small parts of the face. Yeah, I believe Jared's still asleep. Oh, he might be up now. I'll tell him that he can call in when he wants to join chat. Okay. This was a little bit short too. Lengthen that out. Adjust this eye a little bit. The studio I'm at right now is OLM, which apparently stands for Oriental Light and Magic, and I had no idea. It's very like Star Warsy. So what I'm doing to flip back and forth right now is I'm holding 1, which is show current frame, and then I'm pressing 2, releasing, pressing 3, releasing. And for checking Douga, analog artists flip back and forth all the time as they're drawing, because otherwise it's really difficult to tell these subtle errors. Okay, so this highlight now is finally starting to dip like too long right now, and that was that area that we were talking about fixing earlier. The time right now is, it's like 10 a.m. I think. Oh, 9:30. So traditionally a doken would go through and kind of circle all of the parts that are off, and then the Douga artist will manually fix those. Okay, and the dot is glitching out now because I fixed this area. Okay, I think that's about it for frame 6. Oh, I didn't adjust this. Need to do that. Yeah, gets thin on the in-between. Okay, and also this is short. Also, that's my drawing. So this is short. Okay, I guess that's as close as it's gonna get. Oh yeah, the robot sounds. That's my keyboard. Sorry. My quieter one died on me, so I had to get a mechanical one. I didn't have to, but I wanted to get one that doesn't break in 4 months. Because this is the annoying thing about vector. There are some area studios that work in raster, or even anti-aliased vector, and then they export it as aliased lines later. That's because like going back and forth between these and being able to delete like per pixel is kind of convenient sometimes. Okay. This is that red spot that I was talking about earlier. Oh, come on. There we go. A little better. Oh, you're trying to join, sorry. Hello. XXX, you're deciding on a drawing tablet. 1K US dollars for a budget. XP Pen, Huion, or Wacom. I would say if you have $1,000, Wacom. Like XP Pen and Huion are really close behind them, but I'm not sure about the latest Huion. I haven't tried it that in depth, but it's supposed to, like, Huions have a kind of springy pen tip. The pressure sensitivity is really good, like almost as good as the Wacom pens, but the tip of the pencil or the pen is really springy, so it takes some getting used to. It's a little bit different. And XP Pen has a nice stiff tip that's good for line work like this, but the minimal pressure sensitivity that it picks up is kind of like lower, like significantly lower than Wacom, so you do have to like push a little bit harder to draw, and that can put some stress on your hand if you're doing like 100 frames of cleanup animation or something like that. So in that case, it's good to turn off your pressure sensitivity and just like work with the lowest possible amount of pen pressure. Okay, hello. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm just doing some minor revisions on it. Yeah. Pretty good is pretty good. Pretty good is actually super rare also, so keep that in mind. I don't have my curve tool set up though, so I'm just doing everything by hand. I guess the biggest error that would stand out to most is this cheek line was disappearing. So I'm going through and fixing that. And then just like some of the subtle, the cheek line between, it's like under the ear, there's a gap right here. But yeah, that cheek line, and then like some of the dots on the pillow also. Yes, pretty good is going extinct. I guess there's actually a lot of pretty good or very good dogamen in China right now too, but a lot of them are working on Chinese productions. Like, it's kind of common in Japan to complain about outsourced doga, like, oh, it's so crappy, you know, like cheap outsourcing company or whatever, but really it's the way that they're using the studios. Like, you wait until the last minute and then you send in doga to get done within 24 hours, and it's like 50 frames or 200 frames or something like that. Yeah, so they're really just providing the service for which the Japanese studio dug their own grave for. Like, you got yourself into the position where you wanted this amount of frames in this amount of time, so we're just giving it to you. And they have really solid doga artists working on Chinese anime right now too. So the good staff is working on the projects that care about that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's good doga staff everywhere right now, but they're just a super minority. Okay, I think that's good for frame 6. And now frame 7. We got 7, 6, and 8. Yeah. I would be careful about accepting work the moment a PA contacts you, because some of them are desperate to get work done, and like some of them even are like they don't care if you can do it or not actually. And so if, say, for example, you get yourself into a bit of a pickle, they have somebody to blame in that case even. Like, they don't necessarily have to take your side. So it's good to be extra cautious, I think. Just for like the sake of your own reputation as well. Because a lot of the PAs, like, they're not animators by trade, so it's difficult for them to tell. Auto saving again. Yeah, I'm working at 1.5 right now just because I'm doing really small corrections, 1.5 pixel brush. But all of the main lines are drawn in 2. And the reason why it's 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 is because if you have a 1 pixel line with anti-aliasing applied, what anti-aliasing is it adds adjacent pixels together and then fills in a average color in the pixel next to that so that it makes it smoother, right? But if you have a single, a single black square, and next to that is a white square, this black square will then disappear if it's averaged. So you get like breaks in the line. It's less than 1 pixel, or if it's 1 pixel. So the anti-aliasing gets kind of buggy and the lines look bad. Yeah, I think maybe after that, if we were to do additional videos, it would be focusing on how to do different kinds of cuts and how to make the timesheet for different kinds of cuts. Yeah, we're gonna try to do some, yeah. Yeah, ideally we would have, because we wanted to do how to produce anime on your own cheaply, right? So using the max amount of like open source or low cost options is one of the things we do want to cover. Yeah, and this hair here, forgot about that. This cheek line is kind of wobbly. I think that was my mistake. So yeah, this is one that's really easy to mess up, is you have this really short line between hairs, right? And so you connect it like that. Looks like it's definitely between the pixels, but if you flip it back and forth, hold on a second. 6 and 8, right? Yeah, okay, here. So if you flip back and forth, if the angle is changing, it looks really wobbly and stuff. And really what you've drawn is, though it's the cheek line, it's going off in this direction instead of up towards the ear. So those kinds of things are really difficult to get right in Douga. I'm pretty sure that was me as well when I was redrawing this line. There we go. Oh yeah, the other thing annoying for the color is if there's these little corners right here, if you have like black area, open dot, and then another fill area. It's good to avoid these as much as possible. Okay. One sec while I restart my music. Okay. So I think that's 5, 6, and 7 done. Yeah, we'll just thicken this line up a little bit. Still a little too thin. Okay. So now 4. So we're registering 4, 5, and 1. Or 1 and 5, I guess. If you're working for a company in Japan, you have to pay for your own visa, yeah. Like if you're talking about the fees and stuff for application, then yes. And they'll provide like documentation that'll help you with the application process, explaining, about their studio and stuff like that. Okay, so let's fix that here. The same frames repeat like breathing. Do you copy and paste the frame or just keep adding animation? In this case, we're copying and pasting the same frame. So she breathes from key 1 to key 2, and we're just playing those frames back and forth. Okay, this part here is dipping a little bit between the keys. Okay, and the cheek is disappearing here. When was the last time I animated analog? Earlier this year, I guess. Just for layout and also checks. A lot of the times, other animators work on paper, so if you want to do corrections to their drawings, it's better to do them directly on paper, so that when you print it out, it doesn't get out of alignment or something. Okay, this highlight's bugging out a little bit right here. Hopping around. Yeah, you have to pay for your own work visa application. Like, they'll pay you to do work, but not for the visa application. Would you guys use tweens to have an animated object move across a scene? That depends on what you mean by tweens. If you mean in-betweens, then like for characters or cells, those are animated with hand-drawn in-betweens. But there are also things that you can do with slides. So if you have a cell or a book, which is background data, you can move that with a slide, and that's just motion tweening of the position of the object as it moves across the screen. So like if you got an airplane flying across the sky in the distance, you would use that as a, or you would do that with a slide. Yep. Colorblind moment, drawing red instead of black. This is a vector brush, but it's with aliased lines. So it has vectors underneath it. It's just according to the project pixel width, it applies pixel dots to the spots in the vector that it covers. Kind of weird. How often does copying and pasting happen in anime? Are there any examples? Well, the example for this cut right now is the bed is copied and pasted. So while Emily's moving, the bed mattress area and the area is behind her body. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So the mouth just moves and then the body is copy pasted. Or if, say, the character's hair is blowing in the wind, a lot of times the face and body is copy pasted while the hair moves. One thing that a lot of new animators do that you want to avoid though is using copy paste in areas where it would seem unnatural. So like, say a character is raising his hand and you just want to animate the hand and copy paste the entire body. Really, if you raise your hand, your entire body shifts with that weight transfer in order to move your muscle. So at least moving the torso or the other shoulder is important. Sorry about the keyboard sound. Okay, I think that's it for frame 4. Joni Hack's asking, when you were talking about teaching some peeps and doing Douga, could you give some details? Jarrett's in charge of that. I'm not actually, I'm kind of more of like occasionally popping in and giving advice person, so maybe Jarrett can talk more about that. Techniques that you need. Yeah. Okay, I think that's good for frame 4. On to frame 3. The 1, 4 in the light table. And frame 3. Looks like this frame wasn't labeled, so I'll add the label. And these are all Gosei children, actually, so I need to write Gosei Ko A3 dash. Gosei Ko A4 dash. Gosei Ko A5 dash. Gosei Ko A6 dash. And what I'm doing with the dash is I'm making sure it's intersecting the number that I wrote so that it doesn't look like this or something on accident, and the paint staff might confuse it with like a hair or a little bit of eraser dust or something. Okay, and no dash on the parent actually. Oh, that is the child. Okay. So I was doing frame 3. Light table on. I'd say to study katakana and hiragana first. Any advice for studying colors? Not really. Sorry, animators don't work with color very often, so I'm really not good with it. But I guess if I were to say something, if you're using shadow colors, shift the hue either warmer or cooler with the shadow, depending on the type of light that you're using. A lot of color that looks sort of dull or flat uses the exact same hue for shadows, highlights, and normals. So having it shift from one hue to the next will make it look more natural. What's the likelihood of getting an animation job via social media? Very likely. You just have to get yourself up to par. Okay, this hair's a little thin, I guess. You see it popping like this, right here. Do I get to work on my own projects except for the one I'm working on now? This is mostly one of the main ones. I did some like illustration work for Comiket, and that was kind of fun, but not in like 2 years now. It was like a sketchbook or like illustration book for Kankore, and I also did like some original animation for it too, which was kind of fun. And I just sort of, it was with one other animator friend that I have, and I just put the keys in as like a fake Genga shoe. But I put like a QR code where you can scan it, and then it plays the finalized GIF of the keys, which was kind of cool to do. Hey. Wow, why does this bug out so much? There we go. I'm trying to hit the keyboard a little lighter so it's not clicking all the time, but there's only so much I can do about it being noisy. Sorry. Where should I start when learning Japanese? I would say, oh yeah, I didn't answer that. I would say, learn katakana and hiragana, and then start watching lots of stuff with subtitles. And sort of remembering the phrases within the shows. And then from that, you can kind of reverse engineer grammar when you start studying it via textbooks. Because what that does is it gives you a bunch of sets of examples in your head that you already remember. So if you remember, like Shinji from Evangelion saying, "Don't run away, 逃げちゃダメだ, 逃げちゃダメだ." When you get to the point in your textbook that talks about the grammar of shorthand versions of 逃げてはダメだ, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that from this famous line from Evangelion, 逃げちゃダメだ. Yeah, I guess that is a good point. Good point. Byojaku, like weak and sick. Byojaku is sickly. Yeah, if you yeah. Yeah, like suffixes or maybe Germanic or Latin roots that are stuck together. So like German kind of does that too, where you have like 6 different words stuck together to make a word that is a combination of those things. Yeah. Okay, I think that's good for this. Oh, sorry, missed a highlight. Almost good for this frame. Are there a lot of Russians in Japan doing animation-related work? I've never met one. Huh. Yes. Yes. Oh, thank you. I think. I mean, I guess it's kind of a personality thing. But for Douga, if you're into making things clean and just doing something simple but doing it right, it's probably really rewarding. Yeah. And then the other good thing about it is you get to see the keys from a lot of different animators. So, like when I was a Douga artist, I got to In Between Explosions by Hideki Kakita, which is very fun, but also kind of hellish. So like everybody sort of getting excited about the key that they're getting to in between is kind of one of the big benefits of it. Yeah. Feel it being strong. I don't know if it's something they're putting in the water or lots of good guys coming out of there. Like a retention fee. But what I hear from a lot of PAs is if you work fast, if you're good with communication, or if you're good at drawing. If you have like 2 out of the 3, then you'll often get offered a contract of some sort. Okay, I think that's it for this frame now. That fixes the stuff that I was missing before, I think. Yeah, just general jitter all over. Like trying to find the nails that stick out the most and sort of hammering them down. It's probably more common than not even now, because yeah, just lack of time. You don't have the luxury of going back and forth with somebody for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. Right. Because then you'll have somebody that doesn't do the mistakes on site. But the issue is that person will then quit or become a key animator. So this idea of looking at Douga as like the beginner's job, and then once you're good at Douga, you can move on to stuff that's not Douga, is really kind of toxic to Douga as like both of its reputation as one of the most important things in animation, but also just for having qualified people in-house. Yeah. Because really, like, if you look at amateur productions that just don't look up to par, the main difference is, like, that person can be a pretty good, like, web gen action animator or something, but, like, they don't have a good Douga animator or something to clean everything up and tie it down and get the forms in between correctly, so it'll look like fake anime. Or it'll be motion tweened, or they'll use copy paste in weird ways. Yeah, I'm gonna be recoloring the lines to like a brownish color, but you can just paint them black. I'm going to do it with color keying. You do need to split the cheek brush into a separate layer though. Yeah. You can use color keying, but it'll create glitches. Yeah, you can use color keyed blur, but it'll cause glitches around this areas, like where it's visible, then covered by hair, then visible again. Yeah. Uh-huh. So just, I would highlight the red and then cut everything out. And this is the last frame too, so I should be able to pass this off to you pretty soon. Okay, this pillow line is jumping a bit. Yeah, we'll have to finalize it anyway once the background is done. So you can do a temporary color, and we'll use the color replace feature. Do you know about the order, the fill order for like how to do fill order correctly? Yeah, sure. Go ahead first. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And when do you fill in the lines? Okay. The idea for this is you need to fill one side of the line. Like if you're filling the line in, all of the blue lines need to be filled with shadow color, and all of the red lines need to be filled with highlight color. Yeah.
With the highlight, and then the blue lines get colored with the shadows, is what I typically do.
Oh, okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, hold on a sec. You need the highlights always filled with highlight color, and the highlight lines always filled with highlight color, and the shadow lines always filled with shadow color.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had my mic or I had my desktop audio muted, so I couldn't hear. Like we couldn't hear you, Jared.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Wow.
Wow, my bad. Okay.
The reason I kind of intuited that was the way to do it, because everything I'd seen, like with the shadows, for example, the blue shadow line goes directly to the outline.
Right.
And the only way that looks good is if you have the blue line take the shadow color.
Yeah,
otherwise it'd be a step down.
Yeah, and you just have to be consistent with which side of that is. Otherwise, the fill area will jump aligned with, between cells.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had my desktop audio off.
It's funny. I don't think I said anything too important.
My bad.
I did say thank you to Steven for the super chat.
Yes.
And earlier I was talking about how
you guys have provided such a great resource for us trying to learn animation. Thank you, Steven.
And I also was talking earlier about Russians in animation work. There's a famous example of Ilya Kushvinov, who was the still stock on for Birthday Wonderland and character designer for the new Ghost in the Shell. And I also answered Charles' questions about Filipinos. There's a lot of Filipinos that are in the anime industry. A lot of really good animators are coming out of there. And I think we've got like 10 people at Tonari Animation that are from the Philippines. Okay, I did answer that earlier too, the details about Douga recruitment. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That was a long one that got missed. Okay, so let's see if I can remember everything I said. The training starts off, you're going to be using Redis Studio for the entire time, specifically Stylos, and then at the very end, you get a little rundown on Paintman. But it starts off with doing in-betweens on simple objects like cubes, balls, pendulums, and then it goes into harder stuff that requires some perspective measurements, like rotating planes, and then it goes into character stuff like the tail of a cow flipping around, or a hand moving, or head turns, and basically all the way up until you're doing walk cycles. The very beginning of the training, if I could take a step back, is actually focused on the Genga tracing process before you get into in-betweening. And we've got a bunch of examples of stuff that you'll trace, like stuff from like Kill la Kill, Violet Evergarden. Surprisingly, one of the hardest things that you would do in our training is tracing panty and stocking. That is actually extremely underestimated. You think it's a simple style, but the way that they actually do Douga is they're outlining the outlines and then filling them. So when you see the final composite for panty and stocking, you think it's like some simple flash animation, but no, it's actually all hand drawn, and the line widths are literally drawn by outlining the outlines. So it makes it very difficult. And then at the very end, you get a rundown on Paintman. Next group is not going to be starting until December. We can only take 3 people at a time, and I think that it's already full. We might have 1 slot open. I don't know. I will let you guys know. After the December cohort, we will open up again in March. Requirements for the training is that you do not have a job and you're not in school, and you have enough money to live off of for the 3 months that you're doing training, so that you can focus your full attention on the training. After the training's done, we'll have work for you at Tonari Animation. But the other requirement is that we don't teach you how to draw, so you already have to have some drawing skill. If you don't have drawing skill, then you're really going to suffer through the training, and then at the end of it, you're still going to struggle as you're in the industry.
Okay, I think that's it.
I'm gonna see if I can find an example of panty and stocking Genga.
Yeah, it's brutal. Assassination Classroom too is like that. JoJo, you actually have to fill in the thick lines, and that's even harder because it's difficult to in-between accurately.
Yeah, there's none on the Sakugaboro.
Try Assassination Classroom, maybe.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Attack on Titan. I would imagine they're hand drawing it.
Oh yeah, it's all hand drawn. Absolutely. And you can tell if you watch the TV aired version of it, where they had to rush some of the cuts, you'll have a key with doubled up thick lines, and all of the in-betweens will have single line thin lines, because they didn't have time to in-between it properly. Okay.
The training's only targeted to people that want to work in the animation and instantly. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I would say if you're not interested in learning Douga, like either as a supplementary thing so that you understand the process more thoroughly for when you're doing Genga, or to actually do Douga animation, then it's kind of like way too specialized to want to work on. So I'm just going to trim this down and export it as a video. Douga. I'm going to put it side by side and see if it's any different. See if you guys can spot any differences. Okay, so pre-corrections is on the left side, and post-corrections is on the right side. Very subtle differences. Let's see if I can enlarge the screen a little bit so you guys can see a little bit.
Would you mind if I get the training assignments and work on them myself? The training's not really useful unless you're actually getting instruction from a Douga Kensa. Otherwise, you're just kind of brainlessly tracing things. I think that you might get something out of it, but having the instruction is pretty critical, I think. Which one's the corrected? Actually, wait, don't tell me. I want to see if I can figure it out.
Hey.
Okay, left is mine, right is yours?
Yes.
Okay. I can tell because there's a... If you look like the top of her head on the left side, the blue line is wobbling a lot.
Mm-hmm. And also the cheek.
And the tip of the black line on the top of her sideburn is wobbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cheek line popping in and out of existence.
Let's see if there's anything I missed, though. I think that's about it, though. It was pretty solid Douga, to be honest, so... I appreciate the work. Like, it's very refreshing to see good Douga like that.
I'll take it.
So I guess that's it for Douga Kensa for now. And Jarrett, are you going to be doing coloring or?
Yeah, I'm gonna hop right into that.
Okay. So I guess we'll have another stream right after this, or?
Yeah, I'm setting it up right now.
Okay, sounds good. So we will post the links to that, and we will see you soon. Thanks for coming
to the stream, guys. Stick around. I'll post a link here and I'll also post it on Twitter.